Hi, and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be going over how you can automate your Conga Composer solutions using background mode or the DS7 parameter in your Composer solutions. So let's go on and navigate over to our background mode documentation. You'll be able to find both of these links in the description of this video. Here you'll see that background mode, also known as one-click automation, is an optional way to run your Composer solution where the user interface is skipped and the template selection and email options are skipped as well. Because that interface is skipped, like I said, those users will not be able to choose templates, output file options, or activity logging options. Instead, the system administrator will predefine those options using the Conga Composer parameters. The reason we recommend DS7 as a parameter is because it increases the speed of a solution by eliminating multiple clicks. It increases security by preventing users unnecessary choices between output options, and it decreases errors by locking down those very options within the Composer solution. So let's go ahead and navigate back to our dev environment and open a Conga solution. Here I've got a DS7 solution already built. It is just a brand new solution with only a template ID parameter in it. So let's go ahead and run our button not in background mode and see if we can notice a difference in functionality. Here you'll see we have the Conga Composer UI, where you're able to select a template, those output options as I mentioned earlier, and we can merge and download. And once it's complete, we receive the output document here to be opened. Now let's say we wanted to add background mode to our solution. How would you do so? That would be through the DS7 parameter. And here you'll see back in our documentation, we have information on that DS7 parameter. DS7 has a number of different values, each of them doing a different functionality. I recommend reviewing and saving this documentation should you want to go back and change the functionality within your background parameter. So let's go ahead and test using DS7. Let's go ahead and start by enabling background mode, and we'd like this document to be saved to the master object. And to do so, we're going to want to use DS7 equals 1. If you scroll to the very bottom of the documentation, you'll see an example of how the parameter should be added back to the solution. So we'll navigate back to our solution here, customize with parameters, DS7, and the value we said is going to be 1. We'll add our parameter to our solution record. Here we see was added, we'll return. Don't forget anytime you make changes, you're going to want to update your button. And then let's launch Composer and see a difference here. Last time we saw the Composer UI with the selection options. Now you'll see that a status bar immediately begins on its own after clicking Launch Composer. This eliminates the number of clicks and also the options that the user has when working with that very solution. So now we'll see here, instead of the file being downloaded back to the browser, we're redirected back to the master object. This button is built on the opportunity, so we're navigated back to the opportunity here. If we go down to the notes and attachments, you'll see that the opportunity quote for the 500 widgets was just created within a minute ago on today's date. And that is how you would use DS7 to save the file back to the master object. But let's say you wanted to send that file in an email. All right, well, it depends what kind of email. Are you sending in a Conga Sign email, Adobe DocuSign, or maybe just Salesforce? For this test, we're going to want to send in a Salesforce email. So we'll scroll back to the top and see if there's anything that resembles a Salesforce email. Background mode is enabled, and the document is attached to a Salesforce email, and that would be DS7 equals 2. So let's go try that on our solution. We'll customize with parameters. We'll press edit on our already made DS7 parameter, and we'll change the 1 to a 2. Click save. We'll return back to the solution record, update our button again. And this time we should see an immediate status bar get going. And then after that, we should be redirected to a Salesforce email. Notice how I didn't add any email parameters. I didn't add any email ID, any email subject, and still I'm able to send an email. Here it gives you the option to add a contact. I'll add a contact here, and I'll do test. And we'll just go ahead and send that email out. Before it goes, we'll also see that we have that same document attached to the email. And there you see we have a successful email send. And that is how you would utilize DS7 to send a Salesforce email. Now, what if you wanted to still use background mode, but you wanted your user to be able to open that document within the web browser tray? Well, let's go ahead and go back to our documentation, and you'll see that background mode is enabled, merge document is delivered to the browser to save and open is actually DS7 equals 3. So let's go ahead and try that here. We'll change that 2 value to a 3. Update parameter. Update the button. And let's go ahead and test again. And now we should be able, after this merge process, to open our output document right on the web browser here. And voila, there you have the output document right in the browser tray, just as we had set back in the Composer solution. As you can see, there's many different functions using the DS7 parameter. I highly recommend, like I said, that you save this documentation. If you wanted to save your merged document back to Google Drive, that would be DS7.9. If you wanted to send using a Conga Sign email, that would be DS7 equals 12. But let's go ahead and try background mode is enabled, and at the end, it is forwarded through a Conga Sign transaction, and that would be DS7 equals 1141. I want to draw your attention to the differences between DS7 1141 and DS7 12. Both of these items send through a Conga Sign email, but DS7 12 requires that Conga email template ID parameter email to ID, and email CC all be added to the solution in order to use DS7 equals 12, or else you'll get an error. If you wish not to define those set parameters within the solution, you can use 1141 instead, and you can manually make those changes within Conga Sign. I'll show you how to do so now. We'll go back, we'll edit our DS7 parameter, and this time we're going to change that 3 to an 1141, update that parameter, and your button. Like I said, notice how I don't have an email to ID or an email additional to or an email template ID when using the Conga Sign DS7 parameter. We'll launch, and now we should see that same document get merged and added to a Conga Sign transaction. Note that this is only for our customers who leverage Conga Composer and Conga Sign together. If you do not have the Conga Sign app in your Salesforce environment, you will not be able to utilize this parameter. And here you are. You'll see we have the opportunity quote template added to a Conga Sign transaction. We can add recipients to this transaction. We can change items within the email. And when we're ready, we can preview and tag and eventually send. And that is just a few ways you can use the DS7 Background Mode Parameter to customize the functionality within your Conga Composer solution. Thanks for joining me.